أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Please permit me to stand on the already established existing protocol due to the time constraint. Before I dive into the presentation, I want to use 2 minutes to express on behalf of the pension industry, the non-interest pension industry, our complaint to the organizers of this event for not including the pension industry, the non-interest pension sector of the country, of the industry, which is the newest in the industry and as well is regarded as one of the most promising, considering its potential and the current size of pension industry, which stood at about 20 trillion naira, more than 20 trillion naira currently. But unfortunately, it is mamacious. It is mamacious. I will not say it is takacious, actually, that this all-important sector is being neglected in Arewa while the fund is meant for more Arewas. But maybe it is an oversight from the organizers. So I hope this will be noted subsequently. Thank you. Can I have my slides, please? Islamic finance, a catalyst for digital innovation in Northern region. This is one of the important topics considering the current global trends in the financial sector, not only in the financial sector, in almost all the endeavors of human endeavor, because technology has entered into almost all nook and crannies of human endeavor. And Islamic finance, and financial sector in general and Islamic finance in particular was not left behind. Finance has a lot to offer as solutions to so many financial challenges that were being established. A report by formal financial inclusion in Nigeria has grown significantly from 56% in 2020 to about 64%, representing about 36 from 36 or 30. The Nigerians used digital financial services, or Nigerians who use digital financial services to from 45%, from 34% to 45%, which is very significant. There are so many ways. Next slide, please. Guided as one of the fourth industrial revolution technologies that are disruptive in their nature, and they have been operated in many segments of financial services. And the wider accessibility to internet in recent years, an outbreak of COVID-19 served as one of the major factors that promote the use of the financial technology in the recent years. Next slide, please. There are so many drivers for the digital innovation. We have Paytech, which we have seen so many of them. We have so many Islamic finance, fintech-based paying platforms. We have seen so many of them here displaying the product and also provided Lens Avenue, BankTech, InsurTech, WealthTech, and even RegTech. And even in the social finance sector, there are so many crowdfunding platforms that have been established, that have been used in order to ensure financial inclusion, and provide financial services in the sector. So the application of the fintech in Islamic finance ecosystem has opened lots of unexplored opportunities for Islamic finance, leads in terms of driving its products, services, and operations with the fintech, as I have just highlighted. But this is not to say that these services are just to be taken just like that. There are some challenges. But before we look at the challenges, there are so many potentials that Islamic finance can utilize in order to strive using the digital innovation in the country. One of them is the robust legal framework. One of our great scholars here, Professor Dogarawa, that Islamic finance in Nigeria has the most robust provisions that are provided by the ground norm of the country, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so not exercise the teachings of that religion. And by implication, as Muslims, we have as our religion directed us. So also, we have other that we had a Financial Institute Act, which was amended in 2020. In this one, a lot of successes were recorded. Only one of the, since the inception of the Islamic finance, if you ask me, I will tell you the best opportunity we have, that is the amendments of the BOFIA and the many insertions that we have that provided to sub 5B, section 3, section 4, section 12, section 100, and all of that, which provide services, shall provide great success for the Islamic finance industry. One of the also fintech in the northern Nigeria, or the digital innovation, is the proliferation of Islamic financial institutions in the country, which is an evident which is evidential in the way we have a lot of banks. To my knowledge, I don't know in 5 years, 3 conventional banks that are introduced in 5 years from 2019 to date. Just now, Dr. Said told us that by 2nd December, they will be 5-year-old, Taj Bank. So from Taj Bank in 5 years to date, we have about 4 new Islamic financial institutions that are in place, which I believe you cannot have same number, despite the fact that the contribution of Islamic financial institutions to the Nigerian financial ecosystem is less than 1%. But then they are able to establish their presence. We have a lot of many microfinance banks that got IPS, some are in the pipeline. Many halal mutual funds, we have so many of them that are here. So we can also see it evidently in the way the sukuk were oversubscribed. And also here, I want to make a kind of clarification. Yesterday, we were left with a notion that we only have 2 states that issued sukuk. Yes, it is true if you talk about the public sukuk issuances, which is under the purview and regulation of the Securities and Exchange Commission, as provided or as been empowered by the Investment and Securities Act 2007. But if you talk of other issuances that are not public, which are not under the purview of SEC, I believe there are so many issuances by many state governments. Sokoto state government issued sukuk, which is private. So also Katsina state did, and last year I believe Gombe state government did, and other state governments are trying to do it, even though it is not the best way to going for private placements. But then we have to say this is a forum. Maybe someone will just go out of this hall with a notion that it is only Osun and Lagos in 2020, in 2013, and Lagos State recently in 2023 that issued public sukuk. But in private issuances, we have a lot of private challenges of having in the industry. We have a lot of lack of awareness in rural communities. Our people are unaware with the opportunities, just about the impact of these financial technology or digital innovations in solving tech problem of cash solutions, where they invited operators. How I wish that those banks that invited depend this way, and they will tell you about the significance and how important these things are. And as well, our people are not informed about this thing. There is lack of trust. Remember, many people in rural communities cannot accept to just give their grants and just gero kuma ka ce ka tura min a wannan wayar 13,000 ka tura min kudin gero na buhu 10 miliyan 1.5 yace to har yanzu dai da saurana ka dube ne da kyau, and he's right because he's not informed. So these are some of the challenges that we may encounter when it comes to the accessing such financial services. And also, there is this misconception about Islamic finance. This is very important. Actually, there are a lot of misconceptions. Some people, and the most courageous, some of them are scholars, even night wake up and tell you, babu bambanci da bankin musulunci da wanda ba na musulunci ba, duka kawai wayo suke muku. This is very takacious and mamacious as well. If you don't know, you have to ask. Actually, it is evident there are a lot of differences horizontally and vertically between Islamic finance and conventional finance. So these are some of the challenges. So if some of the scholars will tell you that they are all the same, how do you think that you can joke about the activity of our people? People in rural communities are highly sensitive when it comes to financial issues. Whenever they see giving them coming in, and I have a practical experience. I worked with an NGO who was into, they have to make my intervention so that we go and sensitize people that this thing is not about giving them interest. Because when they see with that, what is clothes, so they say, no, this is Yehudanchi, they will not accept. You are just going to give them. So this that it won't be a trap for them to access or to take interest. Imagine if you just take them a financial service. You say that coming in conclusion, Islamic financial institutions should innovate and develop products and services in other regions to it will serve as a gateway to solving not only economic challenges but other socio-economic shared by some of the entrepreneurs who provided practical solutions out of their experiences, and we see how we can engagement. So these type of innovations and financial services that you provide, they are not just limited to the service as it is, rather it helps other as well utilize and ensure access to ethical financial services. And also our youth should, which is been said yesterday in so many presentations, because our syndrome of easy money and free interface was so many youth about crypto services, crypto assets, and dealing in transactions of mining and a free. That's why they call themselves Mbaiwa. They can do miracles and become billionaires just by their phones. And as it's been said by so many people, so many speakers here, that you cannot become rich by easy. No, in fact, even if you inherited easy money, just money that you didn't get, the practical experience we have is that this is any of this business after the death of the original proprietors of the business. You don't need to tell me that it is time. I am a teacher that started from nursery. Alhamdulillah, I graduated many PhD presentations. So I am very, only that I don't want to be punished by somebody's failure. If you didn't start your program on time, you told me that in the schedule that you have 15 minutes, you will not stop me from accepting my 15 minutes time. Thank you guys.
So Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for the rest of you that are still remaining here. I'll try as much as possible, as I said, to make this really quick. Just picking on some of the previous questions and some of the pointers that were mentioned by the lead speaker. What do you think in particular around alternative ways of measuring like the credit system? And I think I'm touching on this. Someone asked earlier, and I don't know that anybody has mentioned it, so I thought it was a key thing to address properly. We are the way we are in the region, and so we don't have much data, right, that some of these financial institutions often can use to measure, whether it's be based on trust or based on some previous experience, or traction from the company. Do you think that Islamic finance has any means of introducing alternative ways of measuring the credit system and credit scores of people in the region?
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa sallim. Finance or business or even general muamalat is usually based on trust. And as brother of his reputation and the trust he has built over time. And this forms the basis of why banks cannot be able to finance entrepreneur business he is backing. The business, although the law treats it as an entity on its own, but it always has someone promoting it. And that's why it's not just building corporate form. The banks now only rely on your account turnover, but they don't know how well the business is doing, how it is growing, its margin, its growth, month-on-month growth, and its annual at Etijar. To create a system that gathers this data that can be shared B2B to banks, to financial houses, to individuals, that tells you the position of your business or tells a financier the position of your business and its health. That will go a long way in helping entrepreneurs access financing. It's not enough for me to just give my turnover, my bank balance. I could have told my family members to spend the next 6 months transacting through my account and I'll beef up my transaction. But if we can look at your books and see your operational expenditure, your capital expenditure, how much you've made in revenue, how much you've retained in profit, then we can make a better decision, even if you are not an old business, to finance you, because from there we can know if you are even able to pay back that fund, if you are able to grow to the extent that you can refund back the money. And that is one of the rip-off about interest. Interest doesn't really care about how well the business is doing. So far as you meet some criteria, they'll give you the money, whether you do invest it in the business or not, or you're capable of paying back or not, they will give it to you. All they are after now is that you have collateralized or securitized this loan, and they can go after such assets, and they don't care whether you fold or you continue. I believe Islamic finance is not the same thing. No matter how it is structured, murabaha or mudaraba, at the end of the day, there is qard hasan behind it. There's benevolence behind it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think one thing you also then rebuttress is the aspect of trust. Islamic finance, I think if we're talking about the pillars upon which it's based, we cannot take out the trust and the risk sharing aspect of it. So I think, again, to Prof's point, there are a couple of misconceptions that people in our region tend to have. So there's this lack of trust when you're talking about digital innovation in the financial space, right? Maybe something that would be important to point out is, what would you say are some of the fundamental principles of Islamic finance that sort of buttress and push forward digital innovation and vice versa? So what would you also say are some of the things that digital innovation is able to bring to us in the financial space that also buttresses and really supports Islamic finance? I guess to say, can one feed the other, or is one alien from the other? Is one completely alien from the other?
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Subhanaka Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you so much, moderator, for the very wonderful question. I wanted to talk about fintech. I think that was the initial interest for this particular summit. Regarding to your question, for your information, Islamic fintech is actually, maybe we can define it as designing and also delivering the financial or Islamic financial service or product using or following the Sharia, but using the innovative technology. There must be an innovation. That's why we can see some products that are coming in. Let me talk globally. I believe Sheikh, our Prof, has already talked about the state of fintech in Nigeria. When we look at the fintech, when it started back in 2005, let's take a look at P2P transactions. P2P lending started in the UK by Zopa. This is the first company that actually started this in the UK, and then spread to the US by some companies like Lending Club and others, funding societies, which are actually now really developed market. Why people are going for P2P or prefer P2P lending than the normal banking or borrowing from the banks? Simply because these particular companies, or they are actually technology based companies that try to disrupt the banking system in terms of lending. So what they did in the US, for instance, the interface of these platforms actually come with, first, maybe if you have a money you want to invest, you go to the investor interface. When you wanted to get money or get financed by these platforms, you go to the interface which is specifically for those who are in need of fund. And how these platforms give money to the people, they actually don't follow the banking procedure. They don't need to take your collateral. They don't need to ask for your house. They don't need to ask for anything. What they will ask is, some of them, to the extent of just ask your Facebook account or get your handphone number to understand that how you have been paying your debt. When you collect credit from the service provider, are you paying back on time? So they went to the extent of giving finances by just collecting your identity and understanding your identity and your spendings. They'll give you whatever money you want. So they don't follow the banking procedure. And this market is actually very, very big. Now, as I'm talking to you, Lending Club is a US-based company. It gives out more than 50 billion USD, or more than that. You can Google it. So what we have in the Islamic space, so we can see companies coming out now in Malaysia. We have companies like Cap Bay. In the Singapore, we have companies like Boost. So all these companies are actually giving out funds to the people using the P2P principles. So that means the banks are now going to look around and actually change their own ways of giving loan to the people, because technology has already changed the situation. Now people in the US, they are not so much interested in going to the banks to collect fund. They better go to these P2P lending platforms. And what we learn in Malaysia, we have a couple of P2P companies that actually recorded zero default. So that means this market is quite very, very important. And beside that, I had many people here also talking about the crowdfunding, which is also been developed. Islamic crowdfunding is being developed throughout by many countries, especially in Malaysia. So in the crowdfunding, we have different types of crowdfunding. And based on the discussion I made today, I think we have a lot of alternatives to follow to get SMEs actually get the funds according to their own businesses. For instance, in the crowdfunding, we have equity crowdfunding. So you can sell out or you can give up your equities In exchange of the money you can collect from the industry. Or you can, actually we have reward-based crowdfunding also. We also have crowdfunding that is based on charity crowdfunding. For instance, in the US, we have companies like Launch Good. Even if you are staying in Nigeria and you have your own, what do you call it? You have a charity that you want to help some segment of people, they can actually help you raise the fund using the Launch Good platform. So these are the alternative things that I think we already have the version of Islamic version of them that can actually help, and they are very, very secure, and it can be done in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. So one thing I hear from a summary of everything that you've said, I know you buttressed on the point of transparency. So I guess a key thing also to add is just Islamic finance is based on transparency, and digital innovation, products like fintechs are able to also push that element of Islamic finance further, right? So you can have things like fair pricing across, different industries, for example, the agricultural sector, because of, say, blockchain-enabled transparency. So I hear that a lot, and I think that's maybe one of the misconceptions to correct, that because there's this form of digital innovation around the types of capital that becomes accessible to us, that it's foreign, it's strange. No, I think that there's an intersection between both parties, and I think you echoed that properly with the example you've given us. So to speak more, I guess, on peer-to-peer lending, and I'll try to end on this question, to peer-to-peer lending and say crowdfunding, how do you think we can incorporate this into our current realities? And how do you think this can create opportunities of financial inclusion across the region? So both from the perspective of, say, an investor that has the capital to invest, but also from the micro and the nano scale, especially companies that we're talking about.
Peer-to-peer funding or peer-to-peer lending started as something for personal finance, consumer finance. Even here, currently, we have a few companies doing peer-to-peer lending. But how do you, because on the normal conventional peer-to-peer lending, I have 100,000 naira in my account. Somebody wants to borrow 50,000 naira. It is left to me to put the rate of return I want. That means I can put my own interest on what I'm lending him. Mostly this is how it operates. But for us on personal financing, when it comes to Islam, it has to be qard hasan. There cannot be something attached to it. So how is it worthwhile to anybody for me to lend to that person? If it is personal, they already know me and they can borrow directly. But if we're trying to adopt it to SME finance, then it's totally in a different way we can do that. Already we have that in the form of Adashi. It's peer-to-peer, at the same time crowd-funded. It goes around a certain group of people doing business, and they use that as a way to boost their capital. Because if we're doing Adashi of 10 people, everybody contributing 100,000 naira, that's a million naira, it means I have an instant million naira capital that I can invest in my business to turn around and start contributing my own 100,000 as against waiting for a long time to gain that amount of 1 million naira. So peer-to-peer lending can really boost the economy, but it's something that we have to be careful on how we implement it Islamically, because there is no string attached to it. What is the benefit for me to do that? I can already do it using my normal account. If my brother calls me, he needs me to lend him money, I just lend him. And that's why you don't see a lot of the implementation in terms of Islamic fintech on peer-to-peer lending, because it's a platform that will cost money and doesn't really make money.
Okay, would you say that, I guess I'll ask, would you say that if you looked at it more from a perspective of using that peer-to-peer financing, so the capital that originates from that transaction to finance certain types of companies using the Islamic finance products. Would you say that that's a model that could work for our economy?
Yes, definitely. Actually, we developed one product which is based on Musharaka-based P2P, peer-to-peer lending. The concept is we actually, in Islam or in Sharia, for you to activate any Musharaka transaction, both parties have to actually have a quantified business or contribution of fund. So what we suggest at that point was, since the SMEs do not have a fund, but they actually have the business idea, they have their own shops, they have their own maybe some goods that they used to sell, we can quantify this particular things that they have, their goodwill and so on, to be part of the Musharaka contribution. And then the investors will come up with the money to inject in the business. So their goodwill, their presence, their shops are the Musharaka contribution in the venture. And then the investors will bring in the money to help them raise, and we can consider this arrangement as Musharaka-based P2P transaction. And this particular product is being implemented in Malaysia. And also some platforms, they use commodity murabaha for the P2P lending or P2P finance. So actually, we don't call it P2P lending in the Sharia, in the Islamic finance space. We call it P2P financing to differentiate between the two, because if you lend it, and if you give money for loan, and then you profit from it, it's riba, right? So it has to be financing method that's been actually innovated in many parts of the world, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and now also in Saudi Arabia and some other part of the world. Thank you.
So this point pushes the fact that we can create some more innovative financial products that sort of fit the reality. I think a lot of our speakers and panelists have echoed that. What is your business? What is the type of capital that business requires? And where are the sources that we can generate this capital from? So with, for example, peer-to-peer financing, you might find that they are willing to finance businesses that have been in existence for maybe not as long as, say, a commercial bank and don't have the records. So it's, I guess, Islamic finance can be used because we haven't really exhausted the kind of products that can come out from using the fundamental basis of Islamic finance. I think that just in itself and in its nature, I hear that you're saying we can really push for digital innovation just off of the basis of that. To round up, I will maybe just ask both our panelists to give just a 1-minute remark on what you think we can do to really speak to our region, speak to our communities, because we've spoken a lot about the misconceptions, we've spoken about trust, we've spoken about, how digital adaptation, how fast, how slow. What would you say as just one major thing that you think can be done? I know we've touched on education, but one major thing that you think we can do and take away from this room today in order to really push and advocate for digital innovation in the Islamic finance space?
One of the impediments of the uptake of even the minor components of financial inclusion is lack of information. And we have to drive more content, speaking to people about it, either digital content, physical content, events at schools, taking up young people to make them know about this world of Islamic finance, this world of Islamic fintechs, this world of Islamic innovation. We have to create more content to drive the knowledge. Financial inclusion hasn't taken off because of the cost, because of lack of knowledge, because of distribution, because a lot of it is driven by technology, yet we have a lot of I don't like using the word illiterates, but a lot of people that are not educated, that do not understand these things. The most basic of them, they don't understand. So we have to drive more information. We have to integrate, as one of my brothers over there was saying, we have to include this kind of information, financial knowledge, in our khutbahs, in our mimbars, in our sermons, in our halakas, and so on, so that people, it is no more alien to them to talk about money, to understand what money means, to understand what dealing with a bank means, because it's part of our life. Whether we like it or not, we must transact, we want to have a business, or we do have a business. So we have to find every means, our masjids, video contents on YouTube, on TikTok, and so on, to talk about this so that people can pick up and understand it more. Thank you.
The same question. Thank you. Okay. In terms of digital innovation and also the development, actually, we have to look at what's happening globally. As you all know, there are a lot of research that's been done. People or our children from 16 years old and above to 25 years, they are no longer interested in banking the way we are doing. They are actually, the perception has already changed. These people want to open the account from the comfort of their homes. They don't want to go anywhere, any branch, to open an account. And this disruption is real. We all know it. And everyone has to prepare for it. So that's why this is very, very important. Today, people are thinking, or this segment of people, young people, are thinking of living in a different world than our existing world. They want to go to metaverse, to have their own homes, virtual cars, virtual vehicles. They want to create their own place to live virtually. So that's why we started to also follow these guys, to teach them that wherever you are, even if you are living in a virtual place, you can actually bank in within the Sharia means. You cannot violate Sharia. You cannot collect interest there, wherever you find yourself. So we have this research, Etijar in the metaverse. Maybe you can Google it. So that these people that are going there to understand that they can actually do the Islamic, they can actually follow the Sharia wherever they are when they want to transact. So this disruption is actually everywhere. We see Facebook now changing rebranding itself to what? To Meta. Because the future social media is going to be on the metaverse. So that's why it's quite very important for us to understand. Yes, we have a lot of people who are not, they don't have knowledge, but these people that they don't have knowledge, you can find them mining, right, with their own handphone, and wasting a lot of time for that. This is part of the digital disruption that we actually don't really take care of. But it is real. How we can do it following the Sharia. So this is, I had a lot, Prof has a lot of clips that I listened to talking about mining, and which is quite a very good area to look at, to look into. Or people are doing this. What is the position of Sharia on these particular things? So, of course, this disruption is there. And in the next few years, our world is going to change because of the technology. So are we ready for that? This is for us. But for the regulators or for the government, I think they need to also prepare. We can see many countries are really into this. They are preparing themselves for it. For instance, in terms of P2P lending or financing, some governments actually put a specific fund to channel to this particular P2P platforms or providers. I can remember in Malaysia, we have what it calls MySafe. MySafe is a Malaysian core investor fund, which has actually been utilized to only channel to the P2P and crowdfunding platforms, who at the end of the day finance the SMEs. So the government institution has a specific percentage of fund to put in that segment of P2P and crowdfunding according to the percentage being channeled by the private investors. So these are the kind of innovation that actually we might look into it, and it might help in the future digitalization in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir. Thank you so much, Prof. It's been an insightful session. I think we can take away the fact that Islamic finance really can be competitive. Islamic finance can offer really products that can finance every single aspect of our economy. So it's left to us to make sure that we're doing the research and doing the work to come up with innovative products that can fund the digital future that we see ahead of us. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for your time and have a lovely evening.